Greetings, O brilliant and radiant particles, wondrous 0 points of light shining forth. We give message in this now of Ascension and Transcension, and we shall discuss insanity. First, some groundwork. We have had our conduit roll his sleeves up for this channel, for we intend some more manual dancing, some choreography of the fingers. The likes of Carl Jung have talked about the trinity of the threefold nature of reality. We use these three fingers, and in the religious terms you may think of the Father as the source of vitality, the source of life, and the Son as the thinker, as you, and of the Holy Ghost, the great mystery, which in this case is the feeling finger. And in the Trinity also we think of the beginning, the middle, which is the typical part of the nature, and of the end. And in beginnings we have things like acorns growing into little shoots, but they do not yet look like oak trees, and then they become an oak tree in the middle, the typical part, and then they wither and die and fall and rot into the ground, the end. And this encompasses the nature of things. But the threefold nature ignores the fact that there is always a beginning, there is always another oak tree before the acorn, and the end, as the rotting timbers nourish all sorts of little animals. So there is always a before the beginning, and ultimately one should think there is an ultimate beginning, the ultimate cause. And there is always an after the end, and one might conceive of an ultimate end. But the truth of the reality is that it is cyclic, and so the primal cause, the first cause, is also the last effect. The beginning is the end, and the end is the beginning. So we always look at 5 rather than 3. And within that fivefold nature, from the one, there is the binary split, as in your yin and yang. There is the threefold nature of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, and any other threes you might think of. There is a fourfold nature of your 4 elements. All these diversify from the one, so it's not just a matter of the yin and the yang going by 2 and by 2 and by 2. It's by 3s and by 4s, and mostly by 5s as well. And if you look in your literature, in your practical books, your books that differentiate between things, you may find a commonality of the fivefold split. And when you see the 5 natures of things, you may look into your lists, and if there are less than 5 there, you can see that there is 1 or 2 missing. Maybe they are not too useful for a particular education that is being proposed. Or there may be more than 5, but when you understand, you can always collapse the manifold down to the 5 to make sense of it. So it may be that one particular part of the 5 is more complex and has been split into many parts. So, looking at the fivefold nature and looking at your ascension, if we look from the differentiated view, we have those that have already ascended, your ascended masters. We have those of you who are purifying themselves and being in light and love and getting ready for ascension. There are those you might call the sheeple, those that are asleep, as has been termed. and they are essential. They are caught up in reality still, but at the edges they know there is something not quite right. There is a little uncertainty there. So while they may accept a lot of things, while they still might be apparently asleep, there are those glimmerings of wakefulness as they discover things are not as they seem. Then there are those that are very caught up in the 3D world, in the darkness, and in the materiality of your world. And they may well be in controlling positions, operating the enslavement system that you perceive on your planet. And finally, there are those deepest, oh so deepest into the darkness. Now, as Ascension approaches this group, well, we start with this group. They're already there beckoning you on, the Ascended Masters. And those purifying themselves, spreading love and light, heading for Ascension, laying the path, digging the roads, making the way. They will be leaders, and they will have prepared the way for those that follow. For when the time comes, there will be a great awakening. And the majority, if we think of your sine curves, these are few, these are a little more, these are the majority, these are less, and these are very few. So the majority will awaken pretty much as a whole. There will be mass and sudden awakening, and much confusion, which is where your enlightening ones come into play to help and lead and show them the path that is already laid. But there are those that will still stay asleep, for they are so attached to the materiality and find it difficult to let go. But they too are important. For the process of ascension is rather like trying to pull yourself up by your own bootlaces. And these are the ones that you shall be standing upon. You shall stand upon their shoulders to reach over the barrier. So their part is essential, and they too will eventually awaken and follow. But these ones, deepest and darkest, they're deepest in control. They are the greatest sacrifice, for they will stay in darkness. And it is imperative for the rest that they do, for there is need of balance. And they provide the ground upon which everyone else launches themselves forwards. So their sacrifice is great. They have given up ascension for you. So do not despise them. Love them. For they are needed. They are essential. And they sacrifice much. Cherish them. Love them. They do you no harm. That is only in your illusion. They provide you benefit. They provide the contrast of the darkness that allows you to know the light. For without contrast there is no perception. Now we have given the differentiation of the five natures. But is there more? Oh yes, there is. Because that is the ascension as has been performed before in other races, other planets, other dimensions. And it is wonderful and joyous and amazing. But there are some of you that are going to take it further. We coined the term transmute, transcension, transmuted ascension. or this will be different. And as in our usual definition of things, the little pinky is the unity, the unifying force. And you can think of the evolution of consciousness and of the human species as moving upwards from the base towards the heights. And that is what other races have done. And beings at higher dimensions, higher frequencies, have done the same. They move on upwards to higher vibrations. But there is a magic beyond that. Instead of just moving, there is the expanding. And some of you, and you will know who you are. You will recognize yourselves as we continue. Some of you have a very special role to play. For a part of your nature is ascending and already seeing higher dimensions of consciousness. And yet somehow you still remain trapped into the 3D world, maybe even deeper and deeper. And you see, you're not just ascending, you're spreading your consciousness from the top to the bottom. And you may feel trapped into this 3D world. You may feel trapped by health, where your health is somehow attacked, and you struggle to stay cheerful at times. And you struggle against the authorities of your medical establishment. And some of you may be in deprivation, in poverty, not knowing where tomorrow's meal is coming from, not knowing whether you will have a roof over your head. And these concerns keep you in the 3D. And there are some suffering loss of loved ones, loss of possessions even. And that loss keeps you attached. The partner of our conduit inadvertently used the word stitching, and it is very good, for you are stitched into reality. Each of your threads holds you down to reality, each thread of attachment keeping you here. And many of you may even think you are on the borders of insanity. So we shall discuss that. Your authorities have defined what is normal in the middle way. And anything that appears not normal is defined as insane. For two purposes. One, it weakens you. It takes away your power to think there is something wrong with you. And secondarily, it provides them with income, with your counselling and your medications, all designed to make you worse and to make you those who would continue to buy their medications and continue to buy them profits. So we question the motives of your establishment that this defines insanity. And we will say that the reality is that they are insane, that the normality are insane. For we define insanity as believing in a fiction when the reality can be known. So from one perspective, all your sleepers and below are insane. Or they look out and see the falsehood of the reality you define. They look out and see the world and believe it is real. And in that we could say they are insane, for they do not know the reality of who they are. They do not know the oneness. And they do not know the binding power of love. But the lower ones are even worse. For they create other false realities, artificial persons, companies, governments, organizations. And with their false legislations, they create the image that these are greater than the so-called natural person, the human being. And they give companies more power, more value and recognition than they give to living, breathing vehicles such as yourselves. And that in itself is an insanity. And they create a false money system that has no value in it, except what is perceived. And they persecute you if you do not have enough of this false money, this monopoly money. And they, through this, produce deprivation and worry and fear. Now that is insanity, to believe in a fiction that injures people. And there are the darkest still, who in their insanity injure deeply people. And people die because of their insanity, both through deliberation and through negligence. So they are insane to the highest degree. For their belief in their fiction causes death and suffering. And how should we perceive insane beings? We should pity them. For if they believe in a fiction, when reality is available, they cause themselves suffering and they cause others suffering. And as we have said before, we should love them. So many of those that society might judge as insane, those advancing on the path, who have beliefs that are different, cherish your differences. You are the truly sane ones, for you are finding the true reality, beyond the falsehood that is propagated by the system you have confined yourself within. And when the time comes, as you expand the breadth of your consciousness from the narrow band that it has been trapped into, to perceive greater and greater dimensions, rather than just rising up through the system, you are expanding within the system, so that when the higher part of you passes out into ascension, you will still hold the roots all the way back down to the foundation of the 3D reality you are in, and you shall bring that light back with you into that reality. You will bring that light in, and your vehicle that is truly dead without your consciousness, that vehicle will become alive in itself, have its own freedom to extend its life as far as the breadth of your consciousness goes, which is eternal, ultimately. To be able to mutate and be who you want. To be able to relocate anywhere in reality and in any dimension. And to be able to relocate in time also. For when that higher part of you knows the true singularity and is embedded into your physicality, that will be the true wonder. That is what has not been done before. That is the greatest miracle. For in so doing, you will have opened up these planes for everyone. You will have found the true novelty. In the mathematical sense, you will have integrated all the formula. In the resonance sense, you will have found the one note that sings through all. In the holographic sense, you will have found that one part of the image, of which all is but a representation. In the fractal sense, you will have found the singularity out of which the entire pattern is generated. And in the complex sense, you will have found that nature that unifies all. And you will truly bring life to the whole cosmos, and your deeds shall resonate across all dimensions, across totality. It is the pivot, the focus, the greatest thing that has ever occurred. So in your deprivations and your sufferings, cherish them, for they are necessary for you to do this great deed. And we so admire your courage, your fortitude, your bravery, your determination, and we salute you with the greatest love and admiration. We love you.